Hey there, I hope you are as eager as I am to see things growing out in nature again. As winter turns into spring, one of the earliest flowers that we see is a tulip, and they have a very specific shape that we will work on today. As we draw this pot full of tulips, the pot sitting on the table, as you see, we are going to use this line back here to show the edge of a table, to show our viewers of this artwork that the pot of tulips is on a table. So I'm going to set this aside, the drawing aside. I'm going to get out a new blank sheet of paper, and I'm going to look at my paper the tall way on my desk. The tall way is also called vertical. And I'm going to start to think about the bottom half of my paper, saving that bottom half for my pot and the table. But right now, as I develop my tulip leaves and the actual tulip flowers, I'm going to think of those on the top half of my paper. I'm going to show you two versions of a tulip. Both have sort of a similar shape. But the first one, all I'm going to do is pick a place up here in the top part of my artwork. And the first one I'm going to show you, this shape is sort of like a skinny egg. So the top curve is tighter than the bottom curve, but certainly that does not look like an egg. It sort of looks like a stretched out egg. I've placed that somewhat small here near the top of my artwork. Another thing to think about is that our tulips can face different directions. So we can have some that are leaning to the left, some that are leaning to the right, and also some that are perfectly straight up and down. Now that I have this skinny egg shape on the side, I'm going to go up as if this is another petal to the tulip that tucks behind. And I'm doing the same on this side as well. Up to a slightly sharper curve and then tucking that behind. Now this is one tulip, and it is off to the side here, leaning a little bit that way. I'm leaving that alone right now. I'm not going to develop my stems or anything until later. Picking another spot, maybe this one's a little higher. This time I'll show you the other version of a tulip, because they could be twisted different ways. We're going to see the petals fold over each other different directions. In this one, I have a leaning line that I'm starting with. I curve down for a dip, and then I just come back up. Again, that looks almost nothing like an egg, this one. From this point, I'm going to go out for another petal, come down, tuck behind. Again, the top of that was sort of angled at first. And then the last part of this one is sort of a little bridge, a little connection line between these two. Go up, curve, and back down. That's a petal that is tucked behind. These ones are overlapping it. So now that we've seen both types, all that we need to do is fill this top space with the least number of tulips I would like to see is 5. 6, 7, or 8 would also be fine. So I'm going to continue here by going over here. I'm going to do this one again, but I'm going to lean it this way this time. So starting with that first shape, which is, really don't know if talking about it as an egg helps us, but almost looks more like an avocado to me. Coming up sharp, tucking that behind. There is another tulip. It is higher on my paper, and it's leaning the other way. Maybe I'll try this one again. Again, that one starts with a line that's leaning down, curve, and back up. Bring out the other side. And then the one that is behind there is seen there. So I've got 4 here. Maybe I'll bring another one down here. Again, we want to save the bottom half for our pot. But this is just us. What we're doing right now is just tossing in some floating tulips. We will make sense of the stems and the leaves later. And I told you that you need a minimum of 5. There's 5, but you know what? I'm going to take another one up here. I'm going to do that last one, which is a leaning line, down, down, swoop, and back up. Other side comes out, and then the line in the back is there. So there's 6 tulip shapes, tulip tops. And now, before I even do my stems and my tulip leaves, I'm going to create my pot. Again, that is sort of around the middle. I'm going to show you now a very basic pot with a nice wide rim. It was the same pot that we saw in the example here. That one starts with 2 sides that are straight up and down for the rim. I'm going to take those lines here. But the lines connecting these curve gently to show, hey, this pot is a 3-dimensional and curving pot. I can drop down the sides now. These sides are the bottom and they can be angled in a little bit if we want, but this line connecting also should show the curved front. Now that we have our basic pot, our table line, which was also seen in the example, goes behind the pot. I'm going to add that now. It is just a straight line from each side of the pot going to the edge of the paper. Great. The last thing we need to do here is to make sense of these floating tulips. Right now they're floating, but in a moment, after we establish some leaves and bring down the stems, all of a sudden this will make complete sense. The first thing I'm going to do is come to the sides of my pot, take out some curving. These are leaves from the tulip flowers. And then I'm just going to start to fill some more leaves that are overlapping and tucking behind each other. So notice here, if this one is in the front, I have to start my next leaf back here. Going to take a few that are up higher even to fill this space. Again, these are tucking behind each other. Now that I have some leaves to fill my pot, now I can start bringing down my tulip stems. And again, you must think about overlapping. Our tulips are going to be behind the leaves we just put in, so they'll stop when they get to one. Tulip stems can certainly lean and go out different directions. They do not have to be perfectly straight, so it would be fine to have one curve just slightly. And don't forget any, otherwise you have a mysterious floating tulip in your artwork, and we don't want anyone to be confused. This stem is actually going to go behind that flower and come all the way down. Look at that curve on that. That is okay. I have seen tulip stems curve quite a bit. Last thing before we color would be to take a moment to put a few lines on our leaf shapes. And now we can think about coloring. When you color, it would be great to choose a color for your pot. You've seen here that I have chose orange for my pot. A different color for the table will help that stand out. Also, in my crayon pack, I had 2 different greens. I think it would be great if you chose one of the greens for the leaves and the other green for the stems. Do you notice that that helps them stand out? I can tell what is a stem and I can tell what is a leaf in my artwork. Last thing, tulips come in many colors, but I have seen a lot of them that are purple, pink, and red. So I stuck with those for my tulips, and in this one I did pink, purple, but check this out. In this one I tried to do a blend of pink and purple with my crayon. Same sort of thing happened here. I did a red, but in this one I did sort of an orange red. I did a combination. So I hope you enjoyed drawing these tulips. Take time to color your pot, color your table, leaves, stems, and then finally up to the tulip flowers themselves. I hope you enjoyed this artwork. Thank you.